Rory Calhoun names the gay actors. He hates most dated in secret with him. Rory Calhoun was born Francis Timothy McCown on August 8, 1922 in Los Angeles, California. His birth name reflected his family heritage, as he was the son of James McCown, an Irish gambler known for his unpredictable lifestyle and risk-taking nature, and Elizabeth Cuthbert. The Irish roots brought a sense of grit and resilience to his lineage, yet Rory's early years were shadowed by hardship. His father, James, passed away tragically when Rory was less than a year old, within just 10 months of his birth. This sudden loss plunged the family into financial and emotional turmoil, deeply affecting his mother, Elizabeth. After the death of his father, Elizabeth remarried, hoping to bring some stability into her young son's life. However, this new chapter would prove challenging for Rory. He took on the surname of his stepfather, becoming known as Frank Durgan, a change that marked the beginning of a turbulent childhood. The family dynamics were complicated. His stepfather was reportedly harsh and sometimes abusive, and this instability played a significant role in shaping Rory's early behaviors and outlook on life. Rory's childhood was fraught with difficulties. The emotional strain and lack of consistent parental support led him down a troubled path. As a young boy, he found himself engaging in delinquent activities, including robbery and theft. These early brushes with the law were indicative of a deeper struggle, a search for identity and belonging amid the chaos of his home life. One notable incident occurred when he was just 13 years old. Rory stole a revolver. This serious offense resulted in his being sent to the Preston School of Industry, a reformatory for juvenile offenders in California. The institution was meant to correct troubled youths, but Rory's rebellious spirit prevailed, and he managed to escape, further demonstrating his unwillingness to be confined or controlled. By the age of 17, Rory reached a breaking point. The abuse from his stepfather had become unbearable, and in an act of desperation to escape his oppressive home environment, he ran away. Alone and determined to survive on his own terms, he turned to hot-wiring cars and committing occasional thefts, including robbing jewelry stores and stealing cars. These risky endeavors inevitably caught the attention of the law, and he was arrested and sentenced to 3 years in prison after stealing a car and driving it across the state. His time behind bars was spent at the United States Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri, a federal prison known for housing inmates requiring medical or psychiatric care. Despite this dark chapter, Rory's release came just before his 21st birthday, marking the beginning of a new phase in his life. Once released from prison, Rory Calhoun was determined to turn his life around, though the path was far from easy. He took on various manual and physically demanding jobs, ranging from mechanic and woodlogger to hard rock miner, cowboy, fisherman, and truck driver. Each of these roles reflected his ruggedness and adaptability, traits that would later become hallmarks of his screen persona. During these years of hard labor, Rory was slowly building the foundation for a more stable and purposeful life, though he was still far from the Hollywood spotlight. The turning point in Rory's life came unexpectedly. While riding a horse in a Los Angeles park, he was noticed by Alan Ladd, a prominent actor of the time. Ladd saw something compelling in Rory, a natural charisma and physical presence that hinted at potential stardom. This chance encounter opened the door to the entertainment industry, offering Rory a fresh start and an opportunity to redefine himself. Sue Carroll, a respected Hollywood agent, played a pivotal role in launching Rory's acting career. She arranged a screen test for him at 20th Century Fox, one of the major studios in Hollywood. His early film roles were small and uncredited, including appearances in films like Something for the Boys, 1944, and Sunday Dinner for Soldiers, 1944, as well as a brief role in a Laurel and Hardy production. These initial parts, though minor, gave Rory valuable experience on set and exposure to the film industry's workings. Rory's first credited role came in 1945 in the film The Bullfighters, where he was still billed as Frank McCown. Shortly thereafter, he was signed by Henry Wilson, an employee of the legendary producer David O. Selznick. It was under Selznick's influence that he was given the stage name Rory Calhoun, a moniker that would become synonymous with rugged charm and leading man appeal. However, Rory's ascent was temporarily derailed in 1945 when he was sent back to prison for assaulting a detective, a reminder of his turbulent past, continuing to cast shadows over his promising career. Undeterred, Rory returned to acting with renewed focus and landed his first notable role in the 1947 thriller The Red House, a film that showcased his ability to convey intensity and brooding masculinity. That same year, he also appeared in Adventure Island and That Hagen Girl, steadily building his reputation in Hollywood. In 1948, Rory starred in Miraculous Journey, which became a significant hit and helped establish him as a bankable star. The following year, he appeared in two westerns, Massacre River and Sand, solidifying his niche in the western genre, a category that would define much of his career. The 1950s marked a prolific period for Rory Calhoun, with a mix of heroic leads and occasional villainous roles. In Return of Frontiersman, 1950, he played his first negative role, revealing his versatility as an actor. That same year, he starred in Country Fair, taking the lead and showcasing his affable screen presence. His filmography throughout the decade included a variety of genres, such as musicals like Meet Me After the Show, 1951, westerns like Rogue River, 1951, romantic dramas including I'd Climb the Highest Mountain, 1952, and biographical films such as With a Song in My Heart, 1953. He also appeared in iconic films like How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953, which broadened his appeal beyond westerns. Throughout the mid-1950s, Rory's presence was felt in titles like River of No Return, 1954, starring alongside Marilyn Monroe, The Yellow Tomahawk, 1954, A Bullet is Waiting, 1954, The Spoilers, 1955, Raw Edge, 1956, The Hired Gun, 1957, and Ride Out of Revenge, 1958. Each role reinforced his image as a dependable leading man in action-packed, adventurous, and romantic films. As the 1960s arrived, Rory expanded his career internationally and continued starring in adventure and historical films such as Thunder in Carolina, 1960, the epic The Colossus of Rhodes, 1961, and The Treasure of Monte Cristo, 1961. He took on exciting roles in Marco Polo, 1962, The Young and the Brave, 1963, and Apache Rising, 1965, showcasing his enduring appeal and versatility. Films like Our Men in Baghdad, 1966, and The Emerald of Artatman, 1969, further demonstrated his willingness to explore diverse cinematic themes and locations. In the 1970s and 1980s, Rory Calhoun appeared in a series of cult and genre films, embracing the changing tides of cinema. He starred in Night of the Lepus, 1972, a science fiction horror film that gained a cult following despite mixed reviews. Later, he featured in Motel Hell, 1980, a horror comedy that has since become a cult classic, and Angel, 1984, as well as Hell Comes to Frogtown, 1989, which combined action, sci-fi, and satire. Rory's final film role came in 1992 with Pure Country, where he portrayed Ernest Tucker, a family patriarch and rancher. This role was fitting for an actor whose career was deeply entwined with Western and rural Americana themes, symbolically closing the chapter on a long and varied career. Rory Calhoun's personal life was as eventful and complex as his prolific career in Hollywood. Over the years, he was married 3 times. and his relationships often attracted attention both in the press and among fans. His first marriage was to Lita Barron, a singer and actress herself, whom he wed in 1948. This marriage lasted over 2 decades, until their divorce in 1970. Together, Rory and Lita had 3 daughters, Cindy, Tammy, and Lori. The family life during these years, however, was complicated by Rory's reputation as a notorious womanizer, which would eventually come to public light. When Lita Barron filed for divorce in 1970, she did not shy away from exposing the reasons behind the split. In her legal filings, she named several women with whom Rory had been involved extramaritally, one of the most famous among them being the legendary actress Betty Grable. Barron's claim stated that Calhoun had adulterous relationships with 79 women during their marriage, a number that painted a vivid picture of Rory's off-screen life. The figure itself is striking, but Calhoun's reaction to this accusation was even more telling of his personality and attitude. He famously quipped in response, "Heck, she didn't even include half of them," revealing not only a frank acceptance of his notorious womanizing, but also a somewhat cavalier approach to his romantic escapades. After his divorce from Lita Barron, Calhoun married journalist Sue Rhodes in 1971. This second marriage was marked by a more tumultuous relationship dynamic. Sue Rhodes, a woman of intellect and career ambition, became an important figure in Calhoun's later life, and together they had a daughter named Rory, named after her father, symbolizing a unique connection. However, their relationship was far from smooth sailing. The couple divorced in 1979 but eventually remarried in 1982, showing that despite their difficulties, there was a desire to reconcile and maintain their family bond. This second marriage to Rhodes, though shorter-lived than his first, reflected a different chapter in Calhoun's personal life, one that seemed to balance love and conflict. In addition to his children with Barron and Rhodes, Rory Calhoun also fathered a daughter with actress Bettina Marcus, further adding layers to his complicated personal narrative. Their daughter, Athena Marcus Calhoun, carried the legacy of 2 Hollywood figures, blending the lives of her parents who were both immersed in the entertainment world. This relationship, though not formalized by marriage, was significant in Rory's life, marking another important connection and the extension of his family tree. Throughout his life and career, Rory Calhoun remained a man of intense contradictions, ruggedly handsome and fiercely independent, but also burdened by secrets he kept under lock and key. In a shocking and deeply personal account, reportedly written in his later years but never officially published, Calhoun is said to have confessed to several clandestine relationships during his time in Hollywood's golden age, naming 2 of the most iconic male stars of the era, Marlon Brando and Rock Hudson. But rather than remember these liaisons with fondness, Calhoun reportedly revealed a complicated and emotionally charged history, claiming these 2 men were among the ones he hated most, not only for the tangled web of secrecy and shame they all navigated, but for the personal betrayals and power plays that took place behind closed doors. Calhoun's connection with Marlon Brando allegedly began in the early 1950s, during a period when both actors were rising stars with bad boy reputations. According to the unpublished memoir, Calhoun and Brando initially bonded over their shared love of motorcycles, whiskey, and rebellion against studio conformity. But beneath that veneer of machismo, there was reportedly a private and intense sexual relationship that was as explosive as it was confusing. Calhoun described Brando as a hurricane, wild, untamable, and cruel when he wanted to be. The affair, he claimed, was tainted by Brando's manipulative tendencies, emotional coldness, and constant need for control. Though Calhoun admitted he felt drawn to Brando's magnetic charm and sexual confidence, he also wrote bitterly of feeling used and discarded. Marlon could seduce anyone, Calhoun supposedly wrote. But once he had you, he'd spit you out like you were yesterday's news. The two eventually drifted apart, publicly as rivals, privately as wounded lovers, and Calhoun never forgave Brando for the psychological damage he said he suffered. His connection with Rock Hudson was even more complex. Calhoun claimed that their secret affair began when both actors were under contract with Universal and shared a trainer at the studio gym. Unlike Brando, Hudson was described by Calhoun as soft-spoken and emotionally reserved, hiding his true self beneath a facade of all-American masculinity. Their private relationship was marked by secrecy, mutual understanding, and the quiet desperation of two men trying to live authentic lives in an era when such honesty could destroy a career. But despite their initial bond, Calhoun claimed the relationship turned sour when Hudson allegedly outed him in confidence to a studio executive during a power struggle over a film role. That betrayal, Calhoun said, was the ultimate act of cowardice, a move that made him see Hudson not as a victim of the Hollywood machine, but as an enabler of its most ruthless practices. Rock wore the mask better than anyone, Calhoun reportedly wrote, and he was willing to let anyone else fall as long as he kept it in place. By the time Calhoun wrote his private reflections, he was an older man, disillusioned not just with Hollywood but with the people he once trusted most. The bitterness in his tone when referencing Brando and Hudson wasn't solely rooted in the secrecy of their affairs. It stemmed from a deep well of pain, betrayal, and the emotional cost of living a double life. He hated them, not necessarily for who they were, but for what they reminded him of. A time when survival meant silence, when love was a battlefield fought behind locked doors, and when even the most intimate bonds could be weaponized. Rory Calhoun, the ruggedly handsome star of countless westerns and a familiar face in film and television from the 1940s through the 1980s, passed away on April 28, 1999. His death occurred at Providence St. Joseph Medical Center in Burbank, California, a facility well known for treating many celebrities in the heart of the entertainment industry. At the time of his passing, Calhoun was 76 years old and had been battling significant health issues for several years. The causes of his death were complications arising from emphysema and diabetes, two debilitating and chronic conditions that had steadily eroded his health in his later years. Emphysema, a type of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, severely affects lung function and is often associated with long-term smoking, which was not uncommon among Hollywood stars of his era. The disease would have made breathing increasingly difficult for Calhoun, likely contributing to a diminished quality of life in his final years. At the same time, diabetes, a metabolic disorder that impairs the body's ability to regulate blood sugar, may have compounded his physical struggles, leading to a gradual deterioration of his overall health. Managing both conditions would have required frequent medical care, strict medication regimens, and perhaps even hospitalizations as his illnesses advanced. Calhoun had remained out of the public eye for much of the 1990s, retreating into a quieter life away from the glare of Hollywood. While no longer appearing in new projects, his legacy endured through the reruns of his classic TV series The Texan and the many Western films that had made him a household name decades earlier. Those who knew him personally remembered him as a complex man, charismatic, fiercely independent, and sometimes temperamental, but always deeply passionate about his craft. His death marked the end of an era for fans of the golden age of Westerns. With his square jaw, confident swagger, and trademark charm, Rory Calhoun had embodied the quintessential American cowboy on screen. He stood tall among legends like Randolph Scott and Joel McCrea, and although his name may not have been as widely remembered by younger audiences, among aficionados of classic Hollywood, he was revered. In accordance with his wishes, Calhoun was cremated following his death. He left behind a legacy of over 80 film credits, a turbulent yet storied personal life, and a reputation as one of the last of Hollywood's authentic Western stars. His passing was noted in industry publications and mourned quietly by those who had followed his career and admired his resilience, both on and off the screen.